So, thank you very much for invitation, the organizers, from the initiative from the Italians and also from the British colleagues, that I have the possibility to give an information or give an exchange on the view of some things about the German Association. And I'm happy that I was invited to this. But I don't have to say a lot, because Bridget, my colleague from the British Association, had done a very good conclusion on it. So thank you. And I think we have very similar positions on that. I only show you some points from my person. I'm volunteering as a vice president of the German Association, and my main work is as a managing director for Caritas in Munich, with about and I'm employer for social workers, and I know very, very good the situation. If there is coming up a scandal for Caritas, then who is the first person being discussed? And I'm really happy that we have an own journalists employed in our organization to help me as a responsible person, and to help also the social workers and educators, for example, when something happens, for example, in a family or with a child or with a refugee. And I think that's important to have this support and the understanding and the same, you said like it, the same language. And that helps to be transparent on the scandals, what really happens, but not vulnerable for the individuals. And I think that's a very important thing and a very important issue on this. So, the researchers and the studies shows, and we will hear it also from the others, the very impressively strong influence of the media in social work, because scandals within the social sectors show a bad light on the profession on the one hand, but it is also a chance to start changes in the system. It's both. I think it is the accepted role. If there is in the field of the engineering, for example, a bridge is not built in the correct way, then also the media has to report on it. And I think it's important to inform the public on this. But it is the same thing, and so they have to change the systems, and they have to change the methods and getting better. I think that's important. This is a very valid especially for the national media and with the federal significance. That I want to point out that we almost have the media reports on the national level, and more or less on the national level scandalizing this. And at the moment we heard a lot of scandalizing things. On one hand, if it's on the refugees situation, or when child were abused, or when family situation getting difficulty, and so on. But on the other hand, that is the other thing, that the social work frequently receives a good press in the local media. And I think that is the other side, and it is very important, reporting how specific assistance is granted. So the local area, like my colleague said, is the local media reports on our work and has more space to report. It's not only 1 minute in the television or 30 seconds in the radio to point it out. It is a possibility to prescribe things and to add the address where you can get the help. And that is, I think we have both sides. We have the scandal side, but we have also the good press. I also want to point it out, especially on the local level. And the faith on the individual human and how help is provided are particularly showcased. Readers or the viewers are given the strong impetus to claim this kind of assistance for themselves too, and I think that's important. The know-how of social work is there, presented in a very positive manner, and I think that is the issue why, for me as an association for social workers, it's very, very important that social workers will be trained in schools how to use this media and how they can get in a good language together. And they can normally train it on the local area, very good for them, also as students. Experts assesses media relations better than practitioners on site. I think that is very important. Mostly the practitioners, and we heard, and I also could tell this, that the practitioners, when something happens, something bad happens, a child died, a refugee is treated, women is abused, the direct social worker also gets instructed to find words, and it is important that they are not in the front line, but on the other side it is important that the media knows about this, and there is a language on this. That I just explained that even a scandal is regarded by experts as an opportunity to improve these misalignments or wrong developments, and so to increase, for example, the political pressure or for a change. I take the example about refugees and social workers not seen in the work with the refugees. That's true on one hand, and we put the pressure on the political side, because in our region, for example Bavaria, we have one social worker has to be as a social service for 200 refugees and more, and in other parts of Germany it's higher than that. So that is a scandal. That is a scandal for the workload for social workers. And I think it's good to scandalize this and to put the pressure on the politicians to change it, because they have the money. They have the money for building better bridges, so they also have the money to make the world and make the welcome for refugees in another way. I think that's important. Yet practitioners on site are often bearing in mind how the scandal affects negative evaluation of social work. And I think that is the other side, that it is also shown in the researchers that they are, that they say, media work, it is not necessary. We have to work for the persons. There is no time left. Media work is beside. And I think that's important, that media work is a part of social work. And it is in your work and not extra. And I think that's a thing that they have to be trained on this, that's one thing, and they have to get the resources for this, especially the time resources on this. So, my recommendations are 3 points. Students for social work should be trained earlier in media relations and public relations. The occupation with press-related uses is important for not being afraid of public relations and media. So, my recommendation is on the schools, in every European or worldwide school, please train your students how to use it. And the question to the press is, please come into school and make a joint venture with us. I think that's important. Journalism is a domain journalism in the domain of social work is just another work field, like school social work for women, social work like I said. So we have to recognize social work journalism, I will create it, as a new field for social workers. I think that's important. Yeah. And at the moment I get in contact with a colleague from the Swiss schools, and they train one wing journalism and photography for this to be more visible for our profession. I think that's important. So journalists need professional training also on social work. It's not only in the one hand, but also like you have the specific journalists in banking, in knowledge, in economics, in engineering. So I wish we have a journalist as a social worker. So copying with the media in a sovereign manner gives the opportunity to use scandals in social work for pushing changes. This could be improving working conditions or amend the legal framework, and I think that's the important thing. You mentioned at the beginning that we need media. We cannot say we are in our own island, so we need it. We are in the civil society. We are an important part of the civil society, so we have to use it. And for example, well, as an association, we do our journal, and we also what is the image for the print media on social work, and I think that's important to show what we have. And for example, it's a very, very, very small bit, but we have a scholarship for a student in journalism and social work. So go forward. Thank you very much.
Yeah.